Okay, today I'm talking again about the transfer student experience. Today I'm going to talk about again what it's like to transfer to a 4-year university and find yourself very quickly dealing with the recruiting process, either your fall semester, your fall quarter, or very early on in your junior year. I have a student of mine that just transferred to UC Santa Cruz. She's currently going through, or at least she started the transfer, or sorry, the recruiting process. And so I'm super excited. Uh, the guest that I have, her name is Catherine Amaro. Catherine with a C. Welcome to Money Misfits.
Hi. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Nice. Yeah, so these conversations are always awkward. We've been trading messages over LinkedIn, and I've like really wanted. I was like forcing myself not to ask you how you're doing because I really wanted to hear it for the first time in this setting. So my first question is literally, how are you doing, and how is the transfer been so far?
Overall, I'm doing good. I do think that the transfer has been a little overwhelming at certain points. There's definitely a lot to take in with like just overall moving away like from home and then like immersing yourself into a 4 year because it's so much different from community college.
Yep.
So I've just been, trying to figure out how to, like, navigate it all.
Yep.
Um, Definitely a little like, taken aback with how rigorous, I would say, the academics are in comparison.
Yeah.
I feel like it almost feels like community college doesn't prepare you enough for how much more intense it's going to
Yep.
be, especially now I get it when everyone says, like, switching from a semester system to quarter system, it's actually, like, it's real, the difference and how much more intense it
Yeah.
feels. Um, yeah, those, like what is it? Those 6 weeks, the 6-week
Yeah.
difference definitely does make a
Yeah.
difference.
There's a lot
Um
to unpack there. Like, can we go back and just talk about what it's like being away from home? Is this your first time away from home?
yeah, basically, I, like, moved out when I, like, transferred here and started living here. So I'm not too far from home, in comparison to
Yeah.
other people. I'm only, like, an hour and a half away, but still, it's different just because, you're in a new place and you're meeting all these people and you're kind of like trying to figure out like where you fit in and who you're going to become friends with and how do you you know how do you also like go about making connections like in your classes.
Yeah. You were always you to me anyway, you always seemed on the quiet side in class. Is that do would you consider yourself the quiet side outside of class too?
I think it depends. I think it's more just where I'm comfortable
Yeah.
in class. I feel like it's just, you're like trying to pay attention to what's going on and absorb as much information as you
Yeah.
can. Outside of class, it's more, you can like, socializing and talking to your friends. I feel like I am more extroverted with the people that I'm
Nice.
comfortable with, but I can be a little like
Yeah.
antisocial when it comes to like associating with other people who are like in my
I'm
building.
very much the same way. I could be both very easily depending on the situation. But yeah, I remember transferring, and before I transferred, like, I was obviously worried about what the coursework was gonna be like. But man, I spent a lot of time wondering, Man, am I gonna make friends? How am I gonna make friends? Like, what's that gonna be like? What's it gonna look like?" Do you find that you have opportunities to make friends and you're just being selective, or is it been kind of isolating was the first semester?
Um I think first quarter, people definitely do click up
Yeah.
very fast. Um, but I think there are opportunities to make friends. It's more just you have to be willing to put yourself out there
Yeah.
and literally just kind of try to start talking with people who you're
Yep.
around, people that you're living with, especially if you don't have roommates like myself. I'm living in a single, so it's much more isolating than, compared to everyone else who kind of has, like, at least one roommate.
Yeah. So are you in a dorm? You're in a
Yeah.
single in a dorm?
Yeah.
That's not
I'm in a single in a dorm, and, I mean, it's nice because I like to have my own space, and I also brought my cat with me, so at least I'm not, like, fully alone.
nice. My daughter just got a cat. We're like, "What did you just get a cat for? You're still in college." And it's like, seems like it's way more common than I think. So nice. Nice on the cat. Um,
Yeah, it is.
so how was
Mhm.
so just in general, how was like the first two well, let me back up. How did you go about choosing UC Santa Cruz? Like, what was the thought process behind picking that school for you?
Well, so once I figured out that I wanted to major in accounting, like, 100%, it was about figuring out, kinda like which schools had accounting as program, like, that and, like, a decent program, and then it was knowing that I didn't wanna be too far from home, so I was only applying to schools that were nearby and as far as, like Sonoma or like, like
Yeah.
East
Yeah.
Bay kind of. But yeah, I also like applied to San Jose and I applied here. I also applied to Cal Poly SLO just because I was like, that's kind
Yeah.
of the furthest I'd be
Yeah.
willing to go. Um, and so yeah, it was mainly just the 2 things. And then also just then like figuring out, my own personality and
Yeah.
knowing that I feel like I kind of can fit in more with the, like, I wanna say, I guess, vibe that UC Santa Cruz has,
Nice.
um, and I was kinda like, I really like the fact that the campus is, like, in the middle of, like, a forest. It's, like, surrounded by
Yeah,
nature,
totally.
and so I feel like I resonate a lot with it. Very
Yeah.
outdoorsy, and so I wanted to be surrounded by something that, apart from being in, like, a
Yeah.
college town, also being surrounded by having, opportunities to do, like, outdoor
Nice.
activities
Very
outside of
cool.
school.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. I've been up into that area so many times, and you're right, it's like smack dab, feel like it's in the middle of the woods. It's awesome. And it's also not really that far from,
Yeah.
like, downtown Santa Cruz. It's just, like, 5 minutes, 10 minutes away, so it's got the best of both worlds. So now why don't let's walk through, like, what the first 2 weeks was like. Like, did you move into the dorm and then start classes pretty soon and trying to navigate the campus and your new schedule? Like, what was how overwhelming was it, or was it overwhelming on those first few weeks?
Yeah, so I remember when it came into move-in, I moved in and I because it was so close to home, I didn't stay here right away after moving in. I, like, went home for the weekend, and then I came back on Monday because I was like, "Okay, I should start to adjust because classes start on Thursday."
Yeah.
And so I did that, and I was kinda, like, trying to get, like, adjusted to, like, first of all, just, like, living on like, by myself, like, not with any parents, not with any siblings, and so I was kinda like, "Okay, this is interesting," and then it became, "Okay, I, like, should kind of try to, like, start talking to people who are on my floor
Yeah.
and start trying to make friends." Because, like, classes hadn't started, and so I was like, "Oh, I usually would make friends through classes or through whatever job I
Yeah.
had." And so that was like, "Okay, how do I, like, go about talking to people?" Um, my, like, strategy essentially was to, like, kind of, like, say hi to people in the hall and then bring up my cat
Nice.
because people always will be like, "Oh my gosh, you have a cat? I wanna see your cat." And so then that would kinda, like, open up like it was kind of like an
Yeah,
icebreaker
totally.
essentially for me.
That's huge.
After that, yeah, classes, like, picked up. They didn't it wasn't too fast, but it did kind of feel like, oh, like, everyone else who's here is, not a transfer, and so they kinda know what to do, what's going
Yeah.
on, and, as you're, like, navigating it, you're like, "Wait, how does this work?" And so, yeah, like, I made a friend in my accounting class, and it's a friend that I still have till now because, we're in the same major, so we're taking all the same
Nice.
classes. But, yeah, I remember, like, asking her, kind of, like, trying to chit chat, and then turns out she was also transfer, so I was like, "Oh my gosh, this
Nice.
is great."
Yeah.
Like, we can relate to each other.
Does she have a
Yeah,
cat?
and, that was nice because it was like, okay, kinda have a buddy throughout, and, yeah, and so then, like, going into, like, after first week, everything is kind of pretty slow the first 2 weeks, and then things pick up by week 3. By week 3, you're kind of already being like, "Okay, we have a midterm soon," and it's like, you're just pushed into it kind of, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, like, I feel like we barely even learned anything, and we already have a test coming
Yeah.
up."
I don't think
Yeah.
so I was lucky enough to avoid the quarter system my entire college education, and, like, my first real exposure to it has been with my daughter. She goes to a school that's on the quarter system, and it's like she has a midterm, and then she's also saying, "Well, yeah, and then I've got finals not that far off of that," and it's like, "Wait, but you just had a midterm, like, you already have final." There's no way I would survive that experience. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, it's just I could totally see
Yeah.
how that by itself is gonna be totally overwhelming. But then in addition to just adjusting to a different, I don't know, a different rhythm in the quarter system, you're also trying and then in addition to moving away for the first time and trying to make friends, then you have the whole different rigor inside the classroom, which is sort of what you started off this conversation with. So I'm curious to know, like, what that experience has been like.
Yeah, so last quarter was a lot lighter for me than this quarter, especially because here at Santa Cruz, they really want students to only take on 2 upper division, like, major coursework classes, like, at a maximum because they feel that taking more is too much of a toll on a student, but
Yeah,
when I met with my advisor, she was like, "Yeah, that's usually what they recommend, but in your case, and your major, you kinda can't do that." So,
no shit.
basically, 1st quarter, I took, my macro intermediate macro and, I think it was macro, yeah, my intermediate macro class for economics, and then my intermediate accounting one, and then I took, like it was technically a general ed that, like, didn't transfer because someone made a mistake, and later on, I turned out I didn't even have to take that class.
Ah,
So, whatever, but I ended up taking those classes, and because of that one, like, light class, my general ed
yep,
made that quarter feel less heavy, and it was kind of nice because, you're transitioning, getting used to the system, so it's kinda like, you only have 2 big classes that you really need to work out.
nice.
This quarter, um I'm
Different
it's
story.
like, thrown into now taking 3 upper major division coursework classes, and it's like, you have to do it because you have to stay on track.
Yeah.
Because 'cause I'm trying to graduate by spring 2027. So it's like, you have to take everything, and you kinda also have to pass. So it's like, I've just been grinding. It's like nonstop, especially this week. I've had 2 midterms already, and I have another one
Oh,
tomorrow.
wow.
So it's just a lot. I've been studying, like, back to back to back every single day, and, like, that's the major thing about, like, what I mean when I say it's really rigorous, that there's a lot of studying involved, and you have to have a lot of self-discipline, because, it's really hard sometimes to see other people in other majors who say maybe don't have it as
Yeah.
rigorous, and they kinda, like you hear people, they're like, "I'm going to the beach today. I'm going here today." And it's kinda like, "I'm stuck in my room studying all day, but that sounds really good for you."
Yeah,
So, like,
happy for
that's
you.
a little annoying,
Yeah.
but yeah, like, you really have to, like, put in the work.
Is it, um are the topics harder, or is it because let me back up. I sort of feel like when you go to a four-year university, there's less homework, like you there's less stuff that you're turning in to have graded, but that doesn't mean that there's less work, and so I'm
Yeah.
just wondering, what's the actual experience? Like, are you doing homework, or are
Mhm.
you forcing yourself to study and answer problems on your own just so you learn the material?
Both.
Really? And is that something did you do any of that at CSM?
No, it's really different. I felt like I had way more time to, like, do my homework at CSM. Like, I felt like the week was way longer. Here, I feel like the week goes by like that, and it's like, I have to do homework, like, every day, and I have to also have time to study, a couple times a week.
Yeah,
And I think it's mainly, yeah, like, the actual material that we're learning, it's just there's so much, and then they're cramming it into 10 weeks. So it's just like it's kinda like a go, go, go. It's like kinda
yeah,
since, like, day 1 from, like, the first day they introduce a topic, like, you really have to be paying attention because if there's one day that you miss, honestly, it's really hard to, like, just lose, focus,
yeah.
basically.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. And, eh, just that, like, for my own personal knowledge, like, how are the accounting classes compared to our accounting classes at CSM?
God.
The professor obviously isn't as cool as your CSM accounting professor.
Yeah, no, honestly, yeah, like, the reason I started majoring in accounting was because of you and because of your class, and because I really enjoyed your teaching style and how easy it was for, like, me to understand and learn the information, especially because, like, I don't know if it's also because there was, like, more time for the class, but it's like, we'd go over a topic and then immediately we'd start practicing and start, like, you know, trying to incorporate it by, like,
Yeah,
doing problems. And so here, I mean, for one, the classes that I have this quarter, they're all 1 hour long classes. So that's not
yeah,
that much time. And kind of what happens is that my professor, who I like more than my last professor, um, but they're kinda the only, like, main 2
yeah.
accounting professors. Last professor kinda would just go over slides, and that was kinda the whole class. He would have
Oh,
his
man,
TAs
that's
kind of,
brutal.
do some problems with you, and then it was kinda like, "Okay, I feel like you just went over everything that I read in the textbook, and I kind of am not really learning anything." It's kind of like a lot of self-study,
Yeah,
self-taught. Um, this class that I'm taking now with my new professor, he skims through some slides a little bit just to, like, go over general, like, ideas and topics, and then he'll talk about it for, like, the first 30 minutes of class. Last 30 minutes of class, he'll, like, have us do a couple
nice.
problems, and I like that because it's like, we're learning what we're gonna be learning about, and then it's like, "Okay, let's practice some problems, let's try to apply what we learned,"
Yeah.
but in order to be able kind of to do that, you need to have, you know, read the chapter a little bit before a class, and just so that you have a little more of a better understanding because he just goes over a few slides and then he's like, "Okay, now let's apply what we learned." And it's like, "I didn't read the chapter, so I don't even
Yeah.
know what we're doing." Or it's like, "Oh, I read the chapter, I know what we're doing, and I can follow
That's
along."
dude, I'm
Yeah.
gonna play that fucking soundbite for my students once a week. Read the book before you come to class. I can't even begin to tell you how much I preach that. And I even like I'm pretty sure I was telling my classes this semester was that like at some point not coming to class prepared is going to totally catch up with you, and you're that sounds like that's what you're saying now. And so this seems like a perfect opportunity for
Yeah.
you to like if you were able to talk to your old self, like, what advice do you think you would give your the CSM version of you to motivate you to come to class prepared, or to at least how would you have gone through this experience so that at UC Santa Cruz, you would have felt a little bit more prepared? What's the advice?
Um, well, at CSM, I felt like I was doing good. Like, I've always been someone who's, like, been on top of my things, and I like to get my work done, like, as soon as possible because I get really anxious
Yeah,
otherwise. And so at CSM, I was like, I bust out what I have to do, and by middle of the week, I'm basically like, "Okay, I did everything I needed to do." Um, if anything, I would say to myself, like, honestly, to start instilling, like, those study habits much more and at that
yeah,
time, because at that time, I was like, "This isn't that bad." Like, I kinda study for, like, a bit, and then I kinda understand what we're learning. It's just 'cause, like, I felt like for the most part when I would do the homework, I'm like, "Oh, I, like, really understand this, and I don't really feel like I need to study that much more."
yeah,
Um, so I feel like, studying early on will help you in the long term just because by now I feel like I have a pretty good, like, method of studying, but it
nice.
could always, be better.
Do you think you would have benefited from taking more units at CSM so that the load would have been heavier and it would have forced you to develop that, like, the feeling of always having something to study all the time so that when you got to UC Santa Cruz, you would know what that felt like? Or is that, like, not something that people should worry about?
Mm, I think it really depends. I personally I was always enrolled in full time, so I was always, like, at least in 12 units, but I was also working,
Uh,
so I was like, half of my time was school, half of my time was work.
yeah,
And, some days, like, because I worked multiple jobs on campus, which is one thing that I'll get to later, but, like, I loved working on campus. And so, I'd be at school from, like, whenever my first class was, say, like, 11
yeah,
AM till, like, 8 PM
wow,
because I would have to go to work
yeah,
afterwards. Yeah. So I've always, like, kept myself busy and I had to, like, balance multiple
nice.
things.
So you're
Yeah.
used to the grind. It used to be school and work, but now it's just 100% school, and it's just more focused on and, like, the
Yeah,
time.
basically.
Yeah, okay. I like that. I like that. So, okay, so the classes are different, and that's an adjustment. Living on your own is an adjustment. Socializing and making, like, good quality friends is an adjustment. Like, everything, you're dealing with all of that. But then on top of it, I'm wondering when it dawned on you that you should be looking for a summer internship. Like, did you feel pressure at all? Like, how did the, "Hey, I should probably look for an internship." How did that start?
I think it honestly started my first quarter when it would be mentioned. I think my accounting professor would kind of like mention, oh, like, for your internships, this and that. For those that are looking for internships. And I'm kind of like, okay, well, like, I already had like the general idea that usually in your third year is when you start looking for internships, and that's when you're supposed to start applying and like hopefully get one. Um, and so it became more like, oh my gosh, I really need to apply during winter break for me, actually. I applied to, like, a whole bunch of, like, pretty kind of small internships, I would say. Like, I would say small because they're, like, companies I haven't really heard of, but they're in
Yep.
the Bay Area.
Yeah.
So, um, I applied to it, like, say, like, a handful, um, and even now, I'm still actively, like, looking for internships, and I'm, like, making a list of ones that I need to apply to, and I'm gonna be doing that, I think, during my spring break because I'll have so much more time, and so it's like, yeah, I'll just knock all those out, apply, but yeah, it's like especially now, there's students that already have internships, and it's kinda like, "Oh my gosh." Like, you hear people talk in class, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, like, my internship, blah, 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 this, I've been doing this," and it's like, "I don't have an internship yet, but okay."
Yeah.
Um, and so
How's that does it make
there's
you
a little
feel
bit of
like you
pressure,
does it
and then
make you
there's also, like, a little anxiety.
sorry, does it make you feel like you're behind as a community college transfer student compared to some of the traditional four-year students? Like, do you feel behind in any way or
Mm,
at least when it comes
no,
to the
I don't
internships?
really
Okay.
because yeah, when it comes to internships, I think everyone's kind of on the same, like, even playing field. Everyone's kind of looking for one, but that's also kind of what makes it a little, like, nerve-wracking. It's like everyone is looking for an internship and only, so many of us are gonna get one, and especially, like,
Yeah,
at, like, a Big 4 or, like, you know, at a well-known company.
yeah. And how does that I mean, it's sort of I could sort of assume how that makes you feel, but, like, is it creating anxiety, or is it something that you're, like, telling yourself it's gonna be fine? Like, how does it feel to be in that space?
It's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of like, "Oh, yeah, like, I am anxious about being able to get an internship," um, and, especially, like, trying to get one by, like, this summer. But then there's also, like, it'll be alright, because 'cause I'm like, "Okay, well, if I don't get an internship, the only other option I have is just to, like, work a full-time job." And it's like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna be getting experience regardless,
yeah.
but it's more like it's preferred if I could get experience, like, doing an internship. So, yeah, it's a little bit of both.
How is the are you getting good feedback, bad feedback, no feedback? Like, when you're applying to these jobs, are you like, what's the responses what have the responses been like so far?
So far, I can't remember, I think I may have applied to, like, 4 or 5 internships. One of them I actually heard back and I had an AI interview with.
What's
Um,
that?
yeah, so it's basically like you log on, to, like, a link and it's literally like if you're talking to ChatGPT.
No
They
shit.
ask you questions and you answer through chat or, like, through their AI system,
Yeah.
and then it's like a back and forth until you the end of it. Um, so I did that,
Man, what was that
and
like?
I haven't heard back. That well, it was definitely interesting. I hadn't done that before, a AI, like, interview,
Yeah.
um, but it was kinda nice cause like, you have a much more time to, like, think about what you wanna say and how you wanna phrase it
Ah,
and what you do and don't wanna include in, like,
yeah.
your paragraph.
Nice.
Um, but I haven't heard back from that one. Um, I assume I will at some point just because the other ones that I've applied to at least have told me, "Hey, we're moving forward with other candidates." So, it's a little, like, it's a little sucky when you, like, get that response because it's
Yeah,
like, you
totally.
look at your at least, like, myself, like, I'll look at my resume and I'm kinda like, I feel like I would hire me, you know? Like, I feel like I got a pretty good, like,
I guarantee you if they knew who
background and
you were, they would
education
hire
and
you. Yeah. Are you finding
yeah,
these
so I'm just like
Yeah, that's so lame. Are you finding these opportunities over the internet, or are they from, like, on-campus recruiting or, like, some on-campus resource? Like, how are you finding your opportunities?
yeah, so the ones I applied to back during winter break, those were just, like, through, like, Google, like, just searching up, like, accounting internships in, like, Bay Area. The list that I have that I'm going to apply to, those I've all found through LinkedIn.
Nice.
And I'm like, I think these are kinda more maybe more promising just because, you apply and then, like, you can always link your LinkedIn, and they can
Yeah.
kinda, like, look at your profile and kinda get a little bit of an idea of who you are other than just your resume.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's kind of what it's been. As for, like, internships through school, because I'm under, like, my economics department, there aren't really that many internships for, like, accounting specifically, but whenever there is, like, something, they do email
Yeah.
everyone who's, like, in the in the major,
Yeah.
the opportunities. Recently, they also sent out this, like, flyer and information from our accounting teachers, for a conference.
Yeah.
And for some other for the what is it? The ACIP
AICPA?
CPA,
Yeah.
scholarship?
Yeah.
Yeah, the AICP scholarship, yeah. Um, they sent out, like, that too, because 'cause they're like, if you qualify, you should apply." So
Good times. Have you so my advice to you, and maybe you're doing it already, but, like, the whole idea of submitting an application and then sending in your resume, and that's kind of the only thing you do, like, I've never been a big fan of that model because I agree with you. It's like, "Well, what the fuck are you guys looking at on resumes?" Because, my real value, like, for me personally, I don't think my real value shows up on a resume. Like, I'm, like, a very personable, I like to I can hold a conversation, and I sort of feel like that's a soft skill that I'm really good at that doesn't I have no way to demonstrate it on a resume. So I always what I try to do is, like, if I'm gonna apply to a job, or if I would apply to a job, I would always try to reach out to somebody on LinkedIn from that company and be like, "Hey, I noticed that you are a community college student and you're working at KPMG. I'm just trying to find the right person to reach out to so that I can make sure my resume lands on the right desk. Do you have a few minutes to talk?" Like, I would always try to establish some personal relationship with somebody at the company. And LinkedIn is like a great way to do that. Like, it wasn't available to me when I was looking for jobs. And so, like, I would be all over that. I would just be cold calling people all the time on LinkedIn so that you can try to use your soft skills to because, like, companies get off on that too, right? They're like, "Wow, this kid Catherine independently reached out to me asking about the company and the culture and wanted to know who was the right person to speak to, so that she could, apply the right way." That says a lot. Like, as a recruiter, I'm like, "Man, I really wanna have the kids I wanna I wanna interact with the kids that wanna be here, and the ones that are proactively reaching out to me, I think is a good signal of the kids who wanna be here." So, I would definitely encourage you to try to be proactive about reaching out to people at the companies that you're applying to just try to, like, add some level
yeah.
of personality to the process, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I just get a little in my head about that because 'cause I'm like, I don't know, I think how many other kids are doing this? Or, these people probably are like, "This is annoying. This kid's trying to, you know, like, get in contact with me just so that they can, like, get the job or whatever."
Yeah,
I don't know, I think I just think maybe I'm a pessimist, but,
I
um,
can yeah, we
I could definitely try
yeah.
that. The worst thing that they could say is,
The
so
worst thing is they don't even reply, and then, like, nobody's ever gonna be like, "Who the fuck are you reaching
yeah.
out to me on LinkedIn? Fuck you." Like, that doesn't happen. So the worst thing is that they're just not gonna respond. But I would like, there might be some people who would read your email and be like, "Who's this fucking tryhard?" Like, "What's this about?" But if I was a recruiter, like, think about it from the recruiter's point of view, like, the recruiter is trying to get kids to come to the company, and they are competing with all the other big accounting firms for the brightest stars. So if you have like a star land in your lap, it's like, man, this is an easy win for me. She wants to be here. I should reach out to her because she wants to be here. So the likelihood of this turning out to be a good situation for both of us is really high. So like from your perspective, yeah, they may not reply
Yeah.
or they may think kind of that you're a fool in some sense, but I would think the vast majority of the time they're actually going to look at it as something very positive. And I would caution you on everybody else doing it. I'm not sure a lot of people do that stuff. So my daughter is like, I think the world of my daughter, obviously, and she's like a 3.91 GPA at like this great school in Chicago. And her and I have the same conversation you're having. She's like, she's like, why would I reach out to somebody on LinkedIn? I don't know 'em. What do I even say? And I always tell her, like, just be honest. Like, ask the questions that you really want answers to. Like, there's no reason to be super authentic and hey, I'm excited about the company. I really want to make sure that the right person sees my resume, and I'm just trying to figure out who that is and who I should reach out to because I'm really excited about the opportunity. Like, man, that doesn't take much energy at all.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Maybe. It's worth a
I
shot.
should
I mean, like,
I should try.
again, I think
I should
it's a
yeah.
better feeling than submitting your resume into, like, the abyss and then having nobody respond to you.
I
Like, to
know, I
me, I'm
hate
not a
it.
big fan. Yeah, like, that's just the worst feeling. And so anyway, like, that for what it's worth, I would give that a shot. How do you feel like your resume like, have you done any like tinkering with your resume to take your job experience here at CSM to make it sound like it's more in line with the jobs that you're looking for? Like, have you done any of that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, oh my gosh, I have multiple drafts of my resume, but I definitely have, like, especially recently, I've been editing and adjusting it more, especially for, like to cater to
Yeah.
internships, and to, like, on-campus jobs that I've been applying to. Just, like, making sure it's in, like, proper format, and then, I recently started volunteering at VITA here, which is
Oh,
the, like,
nice. Yeah.
volunteer tax preparer.
Yeah.
And I know that's also at CSM, and I didn't do that at CSM, and I kind of wish I had, just because it would've like, basically, I would've had to take a tax class at CSM, and, it would've been free, and then
Yeah.
I would've been able to also have the experience of working Vita for
Yeah.
a while before coming here.
Yeah.
So it's okay, that's already in the past, but yeah, I'm currently, like, doing that, like, I got certified and I'm, like, volunteering every week, and so, like, I've added that recently onto
Nice.
my, like, resume,
Yeah.
and then along with, like, my job at the credit union that I had,
Yeah.
um, and then my job at CSM, I feel like the job I had at CSM, the most recent one, just I feel like that really just shows that, like, I've worked with a lot of people from different backgrounds, and I, like, have a lot of, like, collaboration skills and a lot of,
Yeah.
like, communication and, organization skills, Kinda shows that, like, you can balance multiple things, and then you have, like, all these soft skills, and then you have all these, like, technical skills.
Yeah. Totally. Do you ever use ChatGPT to, like, make sure that, like, the keywords that are important in the accounting industry are showing up on your resume? Like, are you doing any stuff like that? I would maybe add that to the
No, I haven't thought of doing
yeah, so
that.
there's probably for every industry, there's probably keywords that AI, resume reviewers are looking for, and
Mhm.
so if you don't have those keywords on your resume, they're just gonna get thrown into the no thanks bucket. So what I would do is just go into ChatGPT and be like, "Okay, what are the keywords?"
Do you feel like I have a couple?
Yeah, just what are the keywords that I need to include or the phrasing that I need to include on my resume so that I'm hitting some of those,
Mhm.
things that accounting recruiters are looking for. Or it could be what are the keywords in the finance industry that need to show up on my resume? Like I would definitely do that as well. Because you have a ton of great experience. It could just be
Yeah.
the way that you're packaging it might not be totally in line with what the CPA firms are looking for. So, anyway,
Yeah.
for what it's worth.
I feel like I have, like yeah, I feel like I have, like, a couple keywords in there that are probably, like, like, obviously, like, accounting, I have, like, CPA track. I'm just, like, trying to remember
Yeah, but I
what
would
is
say,
in
like,
there.
highly
Yeah.
detailed. Again, I would go into fucking ChatGPT and
Yeah.
be like, "What keywords do I need to be using on my resume?" And it's like attention, like
Yeah.
detail oriented and like good working in groups and I don't know what the other words would be, but there are phrases and words that are like they're like AI CPA and CPA. That's nonsense. That won't get you anywhere. But it's those qualities that the companies are looking for. You got to make sure those are somewhere on your resume. So for what it's worth.
Yeah.
How about have you been to any networking events, like in-person networking events?
Yeah, last quarter, I actually went to, this I don't even know what you would call it. It was like an info
Yeah.
session for, Baker Tilly,
Yeah.
and they were basically talking about, their internships that were coming up, and they were like, whether, basically kinda just like, it was people from the company, they were there, you were able to they, like, talked about what they wanted to talk about, and then you asked questions, and then afterwards, it was like a little networking thing, like,
Yeah.
I I remember, like, introducing myself to a lot of people, and, I exchanged, like, LinkedIn's with some people too, and, I was just kinda, like, asking, like, like, "What's it like working here?" What because they also there was, like, tax and then there was audit
Yeah.
people, so, like, they were both, like, telling you their opinions,
Yeah.
and they were like, "Well, why do you wanna do this? Why do you wanna do that?" They're kinda like, "Well, this is what we, like, kinda look for. Oh, this is kinda what day to day is like. This is what, like, busy season's like. This is what it's like." It's a lot of independent work, a lot of collab work, so it was a lot of just, like,
Yeah.
information and, like, trying to
Was
absorb as
it
much
awkward at
information as you
all?
can. Um, and then, um maybe, like, a little bit, but, like, not really. I think it was if anything, I felt like it was more awkward for the people answering all the questions
Nice.
because there's just, like, so many
Yeah.
students and everyone's like, "Oh, my name is. Hi, my name is," and they're like, "What do you think about this?" Yeah. So,
Do you think it was
yeah, it was
Yeah.
interesting. It definitely was, like, useful. I hadn't, like, done something like that really before,
Yeah.
and it was, like, kinda like the first time I was able to, think about, like, how I wanna, like, introduce
Yeah.
myself or, you
Did
know,
you do any of it at
exchange links
CSM?
with someone. I can't really remember. I don't think I did, not in that
Okay.
way. Not in the type of, like, really
Yeah.
professional, like,
We
sense,
w
and
like,
for, like, my major
before your
specifically.
time here at CSM, we used to have a lot of opportunities for students to network at these companies. But after the pandemic and, just recently, it's been kinda hit or miss, and so we went through a period where it was tough to get accounting firms out to CSM, but I'm constantly telling my CSM students, "You should be going to the networking events as early as you possibly can so that you just work out those like, how do you introduce yourself and what are the right what kind of questions should you be asking? Just so when it really matters, it's a little bit easier to deal with socially and so I was just wondering if you had done that stuff here at CSM. Doesn't sound like it. How about
No, I tried to once, sorry.
That's okay.
Yours um, Yeah, I sorry, just real quick, I did try to once, it was an event you had told us about, but I think you told us the wrong time, so or you told me the wrong time, so when I
Oh,
got
man.
there, I asked someone, I was like, "Was there an event?" And they were like, "Yeah, it ended, like, an hour ago," and I was like, "He said it was at 1," or "He said
Yeah,
it was, like, at 2," or
I
something
think I
like that.
remember that. So, I
So,
think
it's okay.
you weren't even in my class, and I think we were trading emails outside of class, and maybe yeah, that maybe that's on me. Maybe
Yeah.
your whole downfall in the accounting profession can be, like, circled back to that
No.
one moment. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Man, that bums me out. Okay, well, I'll try to
Yeah.
make that up to you somehow. Um, I will heavily promote
That's
this
funny.
episode with
Um,
most of my accounting connections. How's that?
you can potentially write me a letter of rec later on?
Yeah, that's an easy one. That's definitely an easy one. For sure, if you need that, I would definitely be open
Okay.
to doing that.
Thank you.
How about switching gears to just like, going back to the just being on your own, and then maybe tying a little bit of the Money Misfit vibe into your situation. Are you how are you paying for things? Are you comfortable talking about any of that? Like, are you budgeting? Do you use a credit card?
Yeah.
Are you finding that things are more expensive than you anticipated? Like, can we talk a little bit about, like, how
Mhm.
you're paying for things and what you find shocking or you weren't expecting when it comes to paying for things?
Yeah. Yeah, my finances. Actually, this is something that I do like talking about just because, I completely took advantage of the fact that I was in, community college, and I applied to so many scholarships that all the money I'm, like, essentially living off of right now is money from scholarships. So I would definitely that's, like, the biggest thing that I tell everyone to do, is you should apply to scholarships or, like, why haven't you applied to scholarships? Like, it's free money, like, these people will literally just give you money and, like, you don't have to pay it back. And
Yeah.
so when I was at CSM, the biggest scholarship I got, and I'm still getting, is, through the Silicon Valley, Foundation, and especially if you're living in the Bay Area, you should be applying to it because, there's several different scholarships and you know, you kinda fill out a general application, and then they'll figure out which ones you qualify for,
Yeah,
and then from there, the process will start.
yeah,
And then I got, accepted for one that was up to, um, 15K for 3 years,
wow,
and so I've been getting, paid every, basically every, semester a certain amount,
yeah.
and then I've been putting it all into my high yield savings account, so
Nice.
I'm on top of that, I'm gaining some interest. And so, yeah, I'm still getting that scholarship, it's, been the biggest help,
Wow.
and the biggest thing that I've also done is, during community college, I was just putting that money away, I wasn't touching it, I was basically just "I'm broke, I don't have money,
Yeah,
but I have all this money in my savings account,"
yeah,
Kinda just don't think about it, it doesn't exist until
yeah,
you need.
yeah.
um, and so, that was the biggest one. I also would every year I would apply to the CSM scholarship. It's not a huge amount of money like the one that I'm talking about, but
Yeah,
it still help. And, I
yeah.
think the most I got out of, CSM scholarships was probably, 2,000 total.
Oh, wow. That's still a
Um,
lot.
and,
Yeah.
that was good. Yeah.
And then
And so, yeah, currently, I'm lucky enough to where my financial aid is kind of covering everything for me, basically. So I have only had to pay out of pocket once, and it wasn't that much. Otherwise, all other expenses, I don't really have many expenses unless, I go home for a weekend and I have to pay for gas and
yeah,
food. Um, or if I decide to go out. go out with my friends to, like, go get something to eat or,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, but for the most part, yeah, when you're living on campus, um, especially, like, since you're kinda forced to have a meal plan in the dorms, you kinda just use the money that's on on your meal plan,
Yeah.
and, that's been pretty easy for me too. Like, I have the cheapest meal plan, and we're in week 8, and it renews every quarter, but it doesn't roll over.
Yeah.
So, as of now, I have a lot of money still left over that I haven't used and that won't roll over, so I'm kinda fine, like, I'm
Interesting.
not really worrying about it,
Got it.
you know? So it's nice, like, I don't have to worry about, "Oh my gosh, I'm not gonna eat today," or,
Yeah. That's huge.
yeah.
And when you
Um,
say your financial aid is covering most of your costs, are you talking about, like, Pell Grants and Cal Grants? You're not talking about, like, student loans that are gonna kick in after you graduate, correct? Yeah.
no.
Wow, that's really cool.
So I haven't taken out any loans, luckily enough, I haven't had to. I hope I don't have to. But I know that if I do, it'll be a small amount and, it won't be something that will put me into excessive debt.
Yeah.
Um, and I've kind of just been like, yeah, like that's the reality. Like, that's the reality of going to school. It's expensive.
Yeah.
And obviously to finish off my education, if I need to take out a loan, like I'll be fine doing that. Um, but yeah, everything's covered through like my Pell Grant, my like Cal grants, any other like grants that I get from the school
Yeah.
and like scholarship. I think I get like a middle class scholarship or something
Yeah.
like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So you don't
mhm.
so it I mean, it doesn't sound like you're really on campus during the week paying for much because you've got your meals paid for through your meal plan. So you're probably do you ever budget? Do you
Yeah.
ever pay attention to what you're spending your money on or
I do. I do still pay attention because, so yeah, like during the week, I don't really have to worry about how much money I'm spending because I'm not spending anything. Um, but like I pay my car insurance every month. So like that's something I have to like make sure I have enough money for. Um, if, I want to like eat out, I'm kind of like, oh, like how many times can I eat out? To where it's like not excessive. And then when I go home and visit, it's like, um, how how much am I spending when I go home, spending on gas and, like, spending on food, um, because my, like, home situation's a little odd.
Yeah,
I'm not I, like, don't stay at home when I go home,
yeah,
essentially, but yeah, that's, like, something separate.
yeah,
So, like, yeah, I'm not really, like, spending much money, and I don't really have to, like, think about it as much as I did, like, when I was at CSM.
yeah,
Um Just 'cause I was, like, paying for, like,
yeah.
everything before. Yeah.
Man, yeah, I will just say that I'm shocked that you don't yet have an internship, like, I've had you in my class 2 semesters, and we've kept in touch since then, and you're just an absolute star, and so my sense is that at some point, somebody's gonna see that who is in the position to hire you, so I would just say keep doing what you're doing, um, and I'm a huge fan. I totally appreciate you giving me an hour of your time, especially knowing that you have a midterm tomorrow. I even feel more blessed that you carved
Yeah.
out an hour for um, and so I feel like I want to, respect your time. We've been talking for close to an hour already. I can't even believe that. But let's end it with if you had one bit of advice to give to somebody who is thinking about or getting ready to transfer off to a 4-year university and is going to go through all of the stuff that you've been through over the last 4 or 5 months, what's the advice that you would give to our current CSM students to prepare them for what you're currently going through right now?
Yeah, I would definitely say probably one of the biggest things, at least for me, is choosing a school based off of, 1, financial aid. Um, that's the biggest reason I chose Santa Cruz because they were giving me basically all financial aid, and I wasn't really gonna have to pay anything. So, that because I know that I don't wanna go into debt. Um,
Yeah.
Other than that, I would say, um, to make sure that you kinda know what to expect in the sense of, like, taking what I talked about to, like, kind of anticipate. If you're going into the quarter system, it is going to be a little more challenging compared to other students, and then depending on your major too, it might even be more challenging than what I'm going through or
Yeah.
a little less.
Yeah.
Um, and I would definitely say not to compare, it's really hard. There's so many different type of people that you meet once you transfer to a university, and some people just have a lot of privilege. Other people are not as privileged, and so it's a big thing that I've noticed. Try not to compare, try to, like, stay on your own track and kinda just focus on what you're here to do, and make sure you have enough money to, like, be able to pay for everything. I do think I have minimal, um, personal expenses, but, other people, it's different, some people
Yeah.
like to shop, some
Yeah.
people don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's profound. And again, I will just reiterate, I'm, like, super grateful that you came and gave me an hour of your time. Um, Again, I totally appreciate it. Best of luck on the recruiting process. Please reach out when you finally find your summer internship, and I will be sure to add where you're at in the comments to this episode. But again, if you need anything, reach out, letter of rec. I'm more than happy to do what I can to help you. But otherwise, good luck and thank you so much for your time.